just finished up carving these pedestal-style cigar ashtrays from logs. This is my first time attempting something like this, so I'll show you guys my process on this larger one. And then at the end of this video, I'll share what I like and what I dislike about these. Okay, this is going to be my first choice for this project. I can't remember how long this has been sitting here, so it might not be usable. But if it is, it does go all the way back here, so that'll give me a bunch of wood to practice with. All I gotta do now is clear out this brush and we'll take a closer look. I'm gonna go ahead and cut into this to see what I'm working with, see if I have any usable pieces. This side right here, probably gonna try to get two 2-foot long sections. This side is pretty rough, but I'm still gonna try to get one 2-foot long section. And then probably my most promising area is down here, just because it's so thick. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this one 28 inches long, just in case my saw cuts a little bit crooked, so I can flatten one side. All these pieces are cut up. Now I just got to go through and pick the ones that I want, and we'll take a closer look at them once they're all loaded. The condition of these pieces is definitely worse than I was hoping. This piece is pretty far gone, plus it's got an area of high moisture from where it was contacting the ground. Second piece, it's got a really rough edge on the bottom there, and over half of it has really high moisture. And this is probably the best piece out of this bunch. It's still pretty rough, and it's got some areas of high moisture. So the plan for these, I'm going to take this piece and that one in the back and use those as practice for the power carving to try to get my technique really dialed in. This middle piece, not even going to use that. It's just got too much water in it, and I don't want to waste my time. This last piece, I'm going to use this as my main practice piece. Going to do the carving on the top, clean off the sides, finish it completely, and hopefully that'll give me the practice I need for that main piece. I only ended up using this one piece for practice because I felt like one log was plenty of practice. I love the way it turned out, but I am a little bit upset with this defect. I was trying to remove excess material with my chainsaw and I went a little bit too far. So for the main piece, I probably won't use my chainsaw to remove any material. I want to get a little bit more practice with that. This is going to be the main piece. Because it is so massive, I decided that I'm going to leave it here while I work on it, just because I didn't think it made much sense to load it up and take it home to work on, and then load it up and bring it back when it's all finished. Before I come up with any sort of design or shape, I have to see how much of this wood is actually usable, because I know it's good and solid right here, but this edge, especially right here, is spongy, and then over here it's spongy as well. So I have to do a lot of chopping to see what I'm actually working with. To start getting a rough shape of this, I'm going to use this shaping disc by Kutzall. This one is the extreme disc. It's very coarse for heavy material removal. So my basic idea with this, it's going to have a square top and bottom with concave sides. I've just drawn a really simple outline in Sharpie. I'm going to try to stick to that, but I feel like on this piece I may be chasing bug holes, so we'll see. I really didn't want to bring this thing back to the house because of how heavy it is, but I need somewhere to dry it and kind of watch it while it dries. So here we are. I tried to remove most of what I thought was bug holes in it because I will be drying this out inside the house and I don't want to bring bugs into the house. Hopefully the drying process isn't too quick on this and it doesn't check and split too bad, and then we'll get back to more carving. To remove all this material, I could do the power carving, but that's going to take a crazy amount of time. So I'm just going to chip off large sections, probably mostly with a chisel. Got quite a bit of material chopped off this. At least 2 full buckets. Now it's going to go back inside and dry out some more. Since the last time I filmed, I've chopped a lot more wood off of this. I've smoothed down those sides and I've flattened that top a little bit. I've decided to go in a little bit different direction with this piece for a couple different reasons. Because I had to remove a lot more material than I originally anticipated, that square design really isn't an option anymore. The design I want to go for now is all around the outside, probably in 8 different spots. I want to carve material back so those sides have a swooping shape. I'm really liking how these sides are coming along. Now I'm going to switch to cutting the ashtray portion, and then I'll cut my cigar rest in this outer rim. That way I can carry that carving all the way up to the top. I ended up using a lot more epoxy on this piece than I anticipated, so it's taking longer than expected. But right now, I just made this really simple frame to go over top of this so I can flatten that top. I've got this little pocket cut out here. Now I'm going to be taking this ashtray portion to its final depth. I would definitely prefer to drill these cigar rests out, but because I think this piece is going to be pretty annoying to clamp, I'm actually going to use my small router to cut these cigar rests, kind of stair step them down and then I'll sand them smooth with my drill. Now that these cigar rests are finally cut, I can go ahead and carve this all the way up to the top and then finish carving these sides. The sander that I originally wanted to use ended up breaking, so I'm just going to be using these two. I thought it'd be fitting to smoke a cigar while I talk about the likes and dislikes that I have for this project. This is going to be a Liga Zebra. This is the first barber pole that I've ever tried, so I hope it's good. I'll go ahead and start with what I like about this. I think the Pedestal-Style Cigar Ashtray is really cool, and there's so many different options for different designs you can try. I actually have two different ideas for different variations of this that I want to try in the future. I will say I love the way the wood looks on both of these pieces. The smaller one looks the way it does because I didn't have to remove as much material, whereas with the larger one I had to remove an insane amount of material to get past the visible bug holes and past the wood that was too soft to work with. I really love the areas of spalting on these pieces. It's not a lot. I kind of wish I was able to save more of that wood, but I still think it looks nice. Another thing I like is the height of this second one. I think the first one is just a little bit too short. For a chair like this, I think this is the perfect height. I'll have to get measurements of both of these and do a side-by-side comparison. As far as what I didn't like, I think the biggest one would have to be the epoxy mess up. I feel like I was living in fantasy land thinking that epoxy wouldn't crack. It held up fine when it was inside, but when I moved it outside and the temperature was wildly different, those checks in the wood that I filled with epoxy just continued to open up and cause pretty big cracks. Another thing I didn't like was my inexperience with the chainsaw on removing material led to the defect on that smaller piece, so I didn't want to use the chainsaw at all on this main piece for fear of ruining it. So I feel like that made this process take way longer than it needed to. The final thing I didn't like was the length of the finishing process. I need to invest in a finer cuts-all dish to remove those deep scratches left by the extreme dish, because trying to sand those deep scratches out took an insane amount of time. On a side note, I tried a sharp corner for the inside of the ashtray portion on this main piece, and I found that I don't like that at all. I prefer the round corner. It is a little bit more work, but I think it's worth it. I can't wait to try some other designs I have in mind for these pedestal-style cigar ashtrays, and I may even revisit this design at some point in the future. As far as the cigar, I think it's a nice cigar. I'm enjoying it. Shout out to Cigars Daily. They have a really nice selection. And like always, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.